Hello, and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about some interesting stuff about stat websites, where I want to talk about the usability of stat websites, which ones are useful for what, and also about a cool plugin I saw today. So if we start off, I want to talk about why stat websites aren't really the most trustable source. There are a few main reasons, like if you feed it garbage information, then you also get garbage out. But the problem is that a lot of the stats in league websites that come into their site are garbage, so you get a lot of garbage in the sites. The second thing is that there's a strong survivorship bias, which you can check out what that is if you want a summary of it. Or, well, I'll give you a summary, but if you want it in detail. So a summary would be something like the things which survive are looked at, and the things which don't make it just aren't. So you only look at the games where that thing made it. I think a fine example of this is GA being bought on items and winning a lot just because it's only bought last, or Magi only being bought when you're winning or whatever, and it doesn't end up staying if you're not winning. And stuff like that could explain it. You can correct me though if I'm wrong. So we can talk about a few sites. If we start with opgg site, I think the most useful feature on opgg site is it's matchup based stuff. So for example, here I can look at Kindred matchup. I can see what runes tend to win against Kindred on Evelyn, what items tend to win against Kindred on Evelyn, and so on. I think this is the most useful part of the opgg champion analysis. So that's that. For UGG, I'm going to mention it has a very readable UI layout thing, UI, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So it's really simple to find a build here and runes and items and whatever right before you get into a game. So that's like a good thing on it. I think their rune stable is also pretty good. I think it's like decent. It shows you like the runes themselves separately, and I think the duos tab is like pretty good also, and here you can also look at duos and what wins a lot together. So I think this is the most useful stuff I found on this website. I don't really look at the other stuff, but yeah. I think the matchup stats are also like okay, because they show you like what champions get ahead and what champions win, but it doesn't really tell you that much. Next up, we have leagueofgraphs. I think this site has a lot of interesting graphs, which you can read and interpret on your own. But what I want to talk about mainly here is that their rune page thing, their rune page section is pretty much the best, because they have complete sets where, for example, here you have Electrocute with Sorcery, or Electrocute with Inspiration, or First Strike with Domination, or Dark Harvest with Precision, or Conqueror with Domination. And you can see the win rate of each rune separately. So for example, here I can see what my win rate would be if I went Nimbus, but the pick rate on it is so low that it doesn't really say much. But in some cases, like here, for example, you have a 20% popularity and a pretty good win rate. While here you have an 82% popularity, a good win rate. And here you have an overwhelming popularity, but a pretty good win rate. So it's pretty interesting to see. So this can help you get a good idea of which runes work well together on some champions. There's also an interesting tab here where it shows you the most common jungle paths taken by champions. For example, here we see also a drawing of it. So for Evelyn, a standard path. It's not too bad if you're unfamiliar with the champions. So if you don't really know how a champion clears, say I go to like Ivern. And I'm not sure how it's gonna work with Ivern, but we'll see. Okay. So, okay, the reason that it shows up like this is because it shows up, he smites red buff, and then he walks back to his wolves, which are already marked. That's why it shows up like this. It's a bit buggy on Ivern, but kind of gives you a general idea if you know how iron works. Let's go with something like, no, not Italy. Actually, let's go with Rengar. Okay. Not really speaking much about invade, so it's a bit questionable. It only really shows you the standard full clear. Oh, it does show you the invade. Okay, yeah, this is a common path that Rengar players end up doing, where they do like 3 camp and then they invade. Pretty cool that it shows that. It is a bit hard to find it, so you do have to look for it on your own a little bit to find stuff. But this is a pretty interesting thing to look at. Specifically because you can see what's very popular and what wins a lot and whatever. I'm not sure how useful it is, but it's just an interesting thing to see. The other stuff here I don't really like too much. Yeah. But as I said, this website is mostly for graphs, though I wanted to show that the rune section is pretty much the best here. Next up, I want to talk about this lolalytics site. It has pretty much the most numbers shown, and it has like a lot of data here. It's, I don't know, it's kind of cluttered, but whatever. So here you can like pick your elos and what time frame you want, and it shows you like some counters, like popular and win rate builds and whatever. But what I really want to talk about here are these 3 things exactly. So here we have one setting, which basically means that if you have exactly this item, how many games do you win? So if you have exactly Rocket Belt and nothing else, how many games you win? If you have exactly like Rocket Belt and Rabadon's, Rocket Belt and this, Rocket Belt and this, how many games you win, and so on. Then you have this thing where it's, I believe that what this shows is how many games you win when you have at least this, right? So if you have at least this done, how many games do you win? Like how often do you win? And then here it's supposed to be if you're also building towards these items. So like if you're building towards the Rocket Belt, if you're, for example, here building towards the Rabadons or building towards the Litzbane or something. But I'm not sure how accurate this is, and basically today I saw this YouTube video of a guy who made a plugin where he is trying to claim that his way is much more accurate. So he has his GitHub here. I'll link to the video in the description anyway, so you can check that out. But if you go to his GitHub, then he claims that in 99%, there's a 99% chance that the items that his plugin shows up will be lower than the build's actual win rate if given infinite games or whatever. So that's a pretty cool claim. He also explains in the video and here why it is so you should watch his video for that. But I just want to show you how to install the plugin if you are interested, because I think it's pretty good. So basically, first thing you have to do is just download the zip file. You have to extract it. It's going to open up like this. You can open it up, it's fine. Then you're gonna need to go to Chrome Web Store, and this works on Firefox and Chrome. So you're going to want to install this plugin. Or well, this extension. I don't know, his plugin. I don't know what they're called really. Like, basically he just changes the way that the site works for every champ, so you don't have to do it manually or whatever. So then we have this thing installed, this extension. So we can go to options. Then in options here, we can load rules, go to all files, take the path of your file or just open it here, either way. And then you're going to open the first little file thing, this lolalytics extract override rules. You go to edit file, and then we go back to our lolalytics. Okay, so as you can see, if we turn this on, then it's going to be blank, our lolalytics. So what we're gonna do is close this, or well, there's like a button to close it. See save and close. And then you're going to turn this off, and then you can go back to it. You can reload this page and inspect element on it, and then go to sources. If your browser is Firefox, I think it's a bit different. I can check how exactly he describes to do it. If it's a Firefox, you have to inspect and then open the debugger tab. I'm showing this because I think it's pretty awkward for a lot of people to install stuff from GitHub. Like people who don't use it, it's just awkward for them, I think. And also, it's just annoying to read like stuff like this and then try to figure out what to do exactly. So you go to static here, you go to the JS file, and then 548.c. You're going to click here, Control A and Control C to select all and then copy. You're going to paste it all in here. Click on this Beautify JS button so it makes it more readable. And then we're going to look for this specific bracket thing that he puts. I'm not sure if he puts it here. No, he puts it exactly here. So I'll put it in the description also. So you want to Control F for this. Okay, interesting. That can happen. And what did I do? I know it's like, I think I remember it being like here. It should be like here. So what did I do? Yeah, I'll just like copy this in the description. Yeah, okay. I don't know, something was with it. I'll just copy it from here and then it should work for you. Anyway, after this else, you take everything until this return C. Or well, until the bracket that is right before the return C. So until line 3074, you delete all of this. And then you're going to open the folder again where you downloaded this thing. You can open this in Notepad because I'm sure a lot of you don't have Visual Studio. You open in Notepad, blah, blah. You again, Control A, Control C or Control X or whatever, Control C. And then here after this else and after the open bracket, you're going to paste all of this. Then you just save it, close it, and then on here, don't forget to click this button. And then after you reload the page, you should get different stats than before. So if we look right now, we're getting this stuff. And if we look right now, we're getting different stuff, right? So this is how you can install this plugin, and also a short overview of stat sites I do find a use for and think can be used for at least something. As I said, each of these sites has like a strong point that you can use, but do remember that data in League is very skewed, and if you don't know how it works, it's usually gonna lead to wrong thinking. You're going to come up with the wrong conclusion. It's pretty important for there to be like a decent sample size on League, on stuff. I don't know. So that's pretty hard. Like for example here, you have like 100 sample size. It's pretty bad. So keep that in mind. Also, some of these sites, like here especially in the runes, I remember it was so horrible. If you go, not even Kindred specific, like just go here, it's just so horrible, like 12 games, 13 games. Sample sizes and stuff, and also the way that the data is put out are always going to make it so your conclusions from data are going to be pretty inconsistent. And because these sites usually don't really tell us, or at least most of us aren't going to be willing to dive into the code of the site to figure out what exactly the data is, how it works, how it calculates it, or like get the data stuff ourselves. Like, it's going to be pretty difficult to really figure everything out. But yeah, I think that this stuff is pretty interesting to play around with. Just make sure you don't take these sites too far. Use them a little bit to help your understanding, but remember that the best source of information is always going to be from people who know what they're talking about, because firstly, they can also use these sites and they can also get the data, but if they know more about the game than you, then they're going to reach better conclusions usually. Not always, but oftentimes. And also, those people can reach pretty good conclusions even without data, and can tell you the specifics of why stuff is the way it is. Okay, so that wraps up this video. I think it's a pretty short one. Wanted to just talk about a few things today and show something cool I found. I'll link to this guy's video and all of the stuff in the description, so you can check that out. Yeah, so if you liked the video, do like and subscribe. If you didn't, then I recommend it. Or, well, I would appreciate if you commented why you didn't like it. And I'll see you next time.